It's the Blues Rock Show with Pete Francis and Willie Witten.
Welcome to the Blues Rock Show. Pete Francis joined by Willie Witten. We're back for a second episode. They didn't cancel us yet, Willie.
Not yet, but there's time.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens this week. But before we get into things, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. And please hit the like button. It really helps us with YouTube's algorithm so more people end up seeing the video. And we're going to kick things off with album releases coming out in October because there are a ton of them. And Willie, I've gotten them written down here. So these are just some of the albums coming out in October. We've got Joe Bonamassa, Royalty, Anthony Gomes, Containment Blues, King Maverick, Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown, Pressure, Shamika Copeland, Uncivil War, and Alistair Green, The New World Blues. So of those albums, Willie, which new release intrigues you the most?
Ooh, that's tough. They're all intriguing. I think if I'm going to go with one, just talking about intrigue, I think I'm going to go with Alistair Green. And that may be a surprise pick. I know that you look at, I know that certainly there's a couple bigger names there that maybe are going to grab a little more attention. But as far as intrigue, there's something about the way he plays. Thinking about back to just his most recent, it was a live album. It was live from the 805. That was great. And I know that that's some stuff on his own. That's also from the Alistair Green Band, which is also essentially him and some musicians. Just the songs on the last one, his last one, Dream Train, was pretty good. And I got to say, whether it's Dream Train, Big Bad Wolf, Song for Rufus was completely different in its pacing. He's got some great range. And that's not to say the other artists on this list don't as well. But I guess for me, I really enjoy the way his guitar sounds. And I enjoy the way, whether it's straightforward or slide, he's willing to let a note sing. And I'm not just talking about when he's into his solo instrumental parts, which are also wonderful, but I enjoy some of his lead-ins, some of his rhythm parts, or some of his picked patterns. He really gives his instrument a lot of space. I like his sort of swampy groove. And if you look at some of the work he's done, he was the guitarist for the Alan Parsons Project Live. He's done some different things. And so I feel like, I guess the intrigue for me comes because it's a bit of a wild card. I don't know what to expect. I caught a listen to the one release of Living Today, which is on his upcoming album, and I loved it. I think the cadence, it's a little bit of canned heat, but he's got some of that older blues stuff too. I'm looking forward to that the most, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely an underrated guitarist. And looking at these releases, this is definitely an interesting question because there are some heavy hitters this month. Obviously, anytime Joe Bonamassa releases an album, it's a big deal. Anthony Gomes' last album was voted Blues Rock Review's #1 album of 2018.
Yes.
But for this, I'm going to pick King. And the reason why I'm going with King is because this is the first new album with a completely different lineup. So you've got Alan Nimmo as the front man, still in the band, but everyone else in the band has changed out now. And now he brought his brother Stevie Nimmo in, and he and Stevie Nimmo released a phenomenal album about 10 years ago called Brother to Brother with their band, the Nimmo Brothers. Super underrated album. If you've never checked it out, I highly recommend it. But having all these new pieces, I was kind of wondering how this was going to go. But one thing about Alan Nimmo that really kind of separates him is his songwriting ability. This guy is a hook machine. The guy writes hook after hook after hook. And King's songs are really catchy. We talk about blues rock being a genre that's not really super radio friendly or single friendly. Well, King writes a lot of songs that can be put out as singles that are very accessible. So for me, I got to go with King.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. So I think we're both looking at what the surprise element perhaps might be. Something that's going to surprise us. Not that these other artists certainly can't do that, but I guess with King for you and Alistair Green for me, it feels like they're poised and primed for maybe something very different from what we saw last time around.
Yeah, this album and this month's worth of albums is just definitely stacked. So pretty exciting. Moving on, we're going to talk about live shows because it seems like right now some bands are actually getting out there and performing some live shows. Willie, are you comfortable going out to a live show right now?
That I cannot answer that yes or no. That's a very gray area. Um, and there are many different types of show experiences out there right now. Last week we spoke about the experience of being at home, catching it on your own TV. Obviously we're all down for that, or at least I'd hope so, if you like the music. On the other extreme where I could say a definite no is I'm not going to be jumping down on the floor dancing at a show anytime soon.
That's where I'm a little hesitant as well, looking at that. The whole shoulder to shoulder thing, right now it's a little, I don't know.
For me, and this is just me, this is to each their own, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I would feel comfortable, I think. I know that some of the sporting teams are doing this. I've seen pictures, I've seen broadcasts where people are 5-6 seats apart, or you have maybe groups of people that you bought your tickets with. That I think, depending, I'd give that a go. If people were conscientious and thoughtful about trying to keep some space. It's a hard call. It's easier for me. I don't have to return home to a big family of people where kids are going to be going to school, or my grandmother maybe lives with us. I don't have that. So I have more flexibility than some. I would definitely, though, have to think twice. What do you think? What do you feel about all this?
I think it really kind of depends on the situation. Like if it was a blues club, for instance, okay, and they've got the tables and they're all spaced out and spread out, I don't really think I would have any issue with that, with everything spaced out. I think where the issue comes is kind of what you mentioned, Willie. If we're, at a concert and we're down on the floor, right, by the stage, and you've got people shoulder to shoulder, I think that's where I might have a little bit of issue and not exactly be ready to do that sort of thing yet. I think in that type of environment, you would probably prefer if people were wearing masks and they had temperature checks and whatnot at the door. But as far as if I was going to a venue like a club, tables are spaced out, I don't think I would have any issue with that right now. Obviously, drive-in shows are getting pretty popular at the moment right now. I wouldn't have any issue going to a drive-in show. So I think it really depends on the specific situation.
I think it does too. And I think, once again, speaking from a personal perspective, down here in Austin, our fall carries a bit longer than I'm sure it does for you in Kansas City. And so I think geographically that's going to be easier on some regions than others. I don't foresee there being any problem when going out and sitting on a lawn, once again, if people are spaced out, being reasonable, and catching a show at an outdoor amphitheater, because down here and in certain parts of the country, you can do that up until November. Those days are shorter for people up north. But yeah, I'm cautious, but willing to take a look.
I think one of the benefits a lot of artists who play blues rock have is they do play in venues that are a little bit more accessible, maybe where the capacity is a bit smaller, so they can get back out on the road a little more quickly.
Right. I think that's very true. Definitely the big, huge stadium type concerts, I don't know when those are going to happen again. And even when this is done, I don't know if we'll ever quite go back to that. For me right now, I'm willing, but cautious.
Yeah, and I think one of the other issues too is this genre, the audience tends to skew a bit older.
Yes.
So I think a lot of the blues rock fans, it's going to be a little bit while longer before they're comfortable going back to a live concert.
That's true.
So, Willie, recently there was a report that came out that said vinyl has now surpassed CD sales for the first time since the 80s. So do you think CDs are still relevant today?
I'm going to twist it a bit, and I'm going to say that they are not irrelevant. And with a little bit of explanation, because I was once a proud owner of a pretty vast CD collection myself, I feel that if you have a CD collection and that is your medium that you still use, I think that's wonderful. I would never get in a 14-year-old kid's ear and tell him to, hey man, you got to get into CDs. That would not be something I'd do.
14-year-old might not even know what a CD is at this point.
Exactly. I mean, I think if you take a look, I believe that iTunes went live around 2003. And I believe that Spotify went live with their streaming, I think around 2011. So right then and there, a 10-year-old kid coming up this year would have been born in the age of Spotify. They're not going to know a CD. And if they do know a CD, it's because their uncool parents have them. So I think that it's CD versus vinyl. I think the verdict is sort of out. You know, from a technological standpoint, yes, back in the day when some of those first masters it came out on CD, the encoding, even on the CD, was poor. Then it got a little bit better. And so when MP3s came out and these strictly digital, non-tangible formats came out, the quality was so low that CDs still made a lot of sense with a good CD player and a good system. But today, I don't know, you can download things losslessly. Even a lossy recording can be encoded in such a way that you can A/B somebody with one being the CD and one being the encoded one. I think most people are going to whiff on getting the difference right. Vinyl is still cool. And there's that analog to digital difference. And that aside, cool. The coolness factor will keep it around. I don't see why in 5 years, and you can quote me on this, I think in 5 years, half of releases will not even include a CD option. You will have a vinyl option and you will have a digital only option that doesn't include a CD. That's my bet.
Yeah, I think you're right, Willie, because we're already seeing some labels, some of the more major labels are already going in that direction where they're not even thinking about CDs anymore. I feel like I'm kind of a weird person to ask or talk about this because we still get a lot of CD submissions. And because of that, I still listen to CDs. And I do have a CD player in my car, but new vehicles today,
Right.
Any vehicle that you go and buy today is not going to have a CD player right when you buy it.
Right.
Unless you put one in there.
Right.
So,
and then you're going to get some funny looks.
Yeah. So most cars don't have CD players. You go out and buy a computer. You go buy a laptop. Guess what? There's no CD drive anymore.
No.
I remember I got a different computer 4 years ago, and I looked at the laptop and I'm like, where's the CD drive? It wasn't there.
Nope.
You know, because they're just not doing it anymore. So I feel like I'm a little bit different just because of the fact that we still get so many CD submissions. We got a lot of digital submissions as well, but we still get so many CD submissions that I feel I'm kind of not normal because I'm still getting CDs. So I do still listen to CDs in the car.
Okay.
Now, I don't listen to CDs at home.
What's your
Usually
preferred
at
medium?
home, I'll listen to music digitally. I
Okay.
still use iTunes, but I use YouTube a lot. I think I do most of my streaming on YouTube. But I think you're right, Willie. The way things are going, the direction things are going, in 5 years, I don't think a lot of people will be releasing CDs. I will say this, though. With blues rock as a genre, again, because the audience tends to skew older, I think CDs still have a little life left in them for this specific genre niche. Now, for more commercial music, I think the way of CDs has already kind of gone away.
Yeah. And that's sad because at one point, my CD collection in college was the majority of my net worth. Thank you, Napster. But hey, you can't stop progress as long as the music keeps coming and as long as the quality of the file, the CD, or the vinyl, both in the writing, the playing, and also the recording, you know, I'm going to go with it. I'm not going to fight this one.
The nice thing about vinyl or CD is you physically have it, though, and it's physically there and you see it. So when you see something, I think you're more likely to go back to it. Whereas opposed with digital, you listen to something, but then 3 weeks later, you just completely forget about it, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And I think you're not going back to things quite as often as you used to. It's the same thing with movies, right? Now, who watches, you know, DVDs or Blu-rays? Not a whole lot of people. For the most part, you're watching stuff streaming. And you don't really go back, in movies, same way with CDs. People used to have these huge movie collections, like they had huge CD collections. And when you wanted to watch something, you would just kind of go through it and you'd pick something out. Well, now with music, it's kind of like you listen to what's new. And then how often are you going back and listening to older stuff?
It's a good point.
I don't know.
Could be a bad aspect, but I don't know. It seems like it's going that way.
For sure. All right, Willie, any final thoughts for the listeners out there?
October's a big release month. Get ready.
All right, I'm definitely ready. And make sure to leave some comments down in the comments section below. What do you think about the topics we discussed today? Leave those comments below and make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get all the latest videos. For now, I'm Pete Francis. He's Willie Witten. This is the Blues Rock Show. We'll see you next time.